are these people?
Oh, we have the article that I wrote. All right. So we're going to go. It's really interesting because we're going to talk about a class and wealth disparity divide that also overlaps a little bit into fuck Israel, free Palestine. To a point. So, I went on vacation with my family last week. That's why I haven't been here for a couple weeks. First, I had COVID, the story, a whole other story. But when I went on vacation, we went down to Florida to visit family and friends. I saw something that jumped out at me more than I'd ever really noticed it before. I mean, I'd always seen these kind of gated / exclusive communities of townhouses, maybe sometimes around a golf course with a clubhouse and a community pool, etc. And they'd always kind of been around South Florida, and I really hadn't paid very much attention to them. A buddy of mine started, they bought a new construction, and so I paid a little bit more attention. 20 years ago, I actually thought about buying down in the Boca Raton area, right when I had met my wife. I guess I had actually been talking with this buddy of mine about buying down there because he lived about an hour south of there, and I liked the area, and I had no ties other than my family up north, so I was looking at it. In the end, I decided politically I didn't want to be in Florida at all. And that was like when Charlie Crist was governor. Like, it was mid-Libby, it was corporate and still a little weird, Florida man, etc. But I had decided then that wasn't really going to be for me. Plus hurricanes and etc. I wasn't going to move down there. But I had looked at real estate down there, especially in the Boca area, and I noticed that places at the time, and that was, I think, about 2011, maybe 15 years ago, the average 3-bedroom townhouse was somewhere in the $400,000 to $500,000 range in a nice area. Like, it wasn't like a ridiculous amount of money for a nice townhouse that had thousands of square feet and multiple bedrooms and bathrooms and a garage and all the amenities. All right. Just to kind of set the stage a little bit. So I've been going down to Florida for a long time. I've been seeing kind of this wealth disparity grow over time. And the traffic and the amount of congestion down there has only increased over those 15 years. Tremendously.
Yeah.
So my first observation was that there has never seemingly been more of a divide in this country between the haves and the have-nots that we're seeing right now, and it only appears to be heading in a more dangerous direction. Dangerous for the wealthy as well, because what's going to happen is we're going to hit a tipping point. And I'm going to get to that toward the end, but I'll read. Earlier this month, I spent some time in South Florida on vacation with my wife and kids, visiting with family and friends. I noticed that due to its proximity to South America and the Caribbean, South Florida has kind of an international flair that you don't really find in most areas across the country. There's a ton of Spanish and Portuguese as a first language spoken. All right. Everyone's tan and it's a warm weather climate. All right. It feels different from much of the rest of the U.S., even like where you live in Tallahassee, in northern Florida. Yeah. Right. In a way that I can't really articulate, but go ahead.
I've lived in rural Florida most of my life, opposed from like Naples, which is the ultra wealthy you're talking about, which I also lived in. And man, is it a different fucking place, So
it's really
South
interesting.
Florida is a different world.
So I looked at this area. Now, this is not Fort Lauderdale. And this is not Miami. This is in between. It's north of Miami and south of Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah,
it's a nice area, all right? But, I mean, how many $1 million properties?
Hollywood.
Right. Hollywood, Aventura, Hallandale Beach. Right. There's a ridiculous amount of money floating around South Florida. I don't think that's a mystery to anyone. The level of opulence and pampering available to the wealthy in some areas would be considered obscene to the average American. I don't think they have any idea just how pampered these people are. Looking at Zillow, within about
Schultz's district.
Yes, within about a 20-mile radius north of Miami, south of Fort Lauderdale, there are more than 900 properties and homes currently for sale listed at $1 million or higher. That's for sale right now. And that's before property taxes, brokerage costs, which, by the way, 6% on $1 million is another 60 grand you've got to lay out. This just burn money. HOA fees, title and inspection fees, insurance, moving costs, and eventually maintenance. You're talking about a huge expense to move to South Florida, right? And just to get into a building and into a new home. 916 results. All right. And mostly, of course, on the water and near the water. All right. There are some that are in the $5 million range. There are some in the $2 million range. Right. And I started to look at, first of all, most of these homes, how big are they? Most of them are 2 to 4 bedrooms, 2 to 4 bathrooms, and less than 3,000 square feet. That's not a huge house by U.S. standards, but they're in a warm weather climate and close to the water. So they command premium prices, which is driven by, of course, market demand. There's also a lot of vacation homes included where the people buying don't even intend for it to be their primary residence, and they're shelling out 7 figures for a vacation home. All right. And there are others.
Snowbirds.
Well, maybe, but others that are still buying out the homes to rent as an investment.
That's what you call them.
We called some of them snowbirds, but others are Airbnb investors that are just renting them out, or that's short-term rentals. But then there's also long-term rentals where they own a place for 20 years. They have the renters pay off the mortgage in time, and then when they're ready to retire, they basically own the place free and clear, and all they have to do is pay property taxes. It's actually a very smart investment strategy if you could swing it. And I was wondering, how long does it take to close $1 million property? Well, according to Google Assist, it takes about 80 to 90 days to sell a house in South Florida. That's from listing to closing. That's insane. That means you have to have a massive amount of people ready to buy and plunk down all this money that are pre-approved for a mortgage, that are ready to move in and have the available money to pay the moving costs. And you've got to have all these people looking to sell and have somewhere to go. Holy shit. Again, $916 million homes in a 20-mile radius. Who the fuck is buying all these $1 million homes?
Who are these people?
That's what I want to know, Nancy. Who are these people? Last year, my friend and his significant other bought into an exclusive new construction luxury community up north in Boca. Now, that's an hour north of where I'm showing you. The place is beautiful. For that kind of money, it should be. It's brand new. No, it's not Boca de Beppo. It's Boca Raton. Right? It's brand new. It's state-of-the-art tech. They're ultra luxurious finishings inside, and it's well-designed layout-wise because it's brand new. They've taken in all the best design features from all time and put it into it. This entire community of 250 homes was sold out within 2 years, and they started at $1.5 million. So I'll tell a story about this experience at another time, but it was really kind of disgusting. The guy turned out to be a rabid Zionist Israel supporter. And basically, I think I even wrote it here. Said, I drove to his place with the wife and kids. We spent the day at their community pool. My observation was that the overwhelming majority of people that I saw there, and it was crowded, it was also Easter Sunday, were under 50, many with young families. All right. And again, I'll tell another story. I want to write an article about it. I don't know if I really want to. It would really burn that friendship, whatever it was. It would to the ground. And I have reasons where I would be fine with that, but I'm still not sure it's really personal. But what I did notice it's comfortable, but it's a vapid life and incredibly selfish and self-absorbed while it lasts. Because that kind of a life at that kind of expense and that kind of revenue never lasts forever. It doesn't last a long time. Everybody has ebbs and flows when it comes to earnings and money. And when you set yourself up to have that kind of a nut every month, you're setting yourself to at some point come crashing down. I really believe that. So we went to spend the day at the pool, at the community pool. I overheard a conversation between a grandparent in her 70s or even maybe her 80s and someone in the 30s or 40s, one of the fathers with young kids. The elder was unable to comprehend how so many young people can afford places like these. Right? She couldn't figure out anything other than maybe that it was old money and that it was the parents helping, inheritances and wealthy parents. All right. But I and that younger person reminded that person that within the last 5 years, the way the crypto and the stock market's gone, it's entirely possible that a lot of these people bought their homes, basically bought with the growth on Nvidia and Palantir and Bitcoin and Visa stock and Apple stock. I mean, the stock market's gone crazy. All right. And that's made a ton of wealth. What I was shocked to see was just how much of it is concentrated in Southern Florida. So I did my search just like I did above. All right. Where I looked at $1 million homes in this $20 million, this 20-mile radius. I said, okay, show me all of Boca Raton. And how many $1 million homes are listed on Zillow in all of Boca? Again, from the water all the way out. And this is west of the Florida Turnpike. This is like in the middle of nowhere when it comes to South Florida. This is not close to Miami, not close to Fort Lauderdale. And here's I-95. This road right here is 95. That used to be basically anything east of 95 was where the money was. Anything west of 95 was not so much before. Now it's all money. And that's just Boca, by the way. That's Delray Beach above it. And I didn't search. Look, Parkland is all $1 million homes. That's famously where the shooting was. All right. That's all 7 figures. And it's close to Boca. So I'm just looking at Boca here. 778 results, including an estate that has 20 acres for $60 million. Yes, if you have a cool 60 mil, you can pick up a 20-acre, 13-bedroom estate in Boca. 13,000 square feet in the main house. Holy shit. I said, so this elderly lady was flabbergasted at the potential of a 30-year-old or a 35-year-old able to commit to a 30-year mortgage of $1 million or more. And that's going to carry a monthly payment somewhere in the $8,000 to $10,000 and up range, just as a monthly mortgage payment. Apparently, something is happening because someone is buying all these houses. Oh, come on. My stream deck just froze. Come on. Damn it. All right. I was doing the Jimmy. Who are these people? Who are these people? All right. I said there is definitely some kind of an influx of international money going in there. Okay. That's one speculation. Plus, we can't dismiss the potential
Who are these people?
Thank you, Jimmy. We can't dismiss the potential for BlackRock to scoop up some of these houses, driving up the market price artificially to charge higher rents in the future, further limiting the available supply of affordable housing. Right? But there seems to be a concentration of wealth. I hope I didn't just crash. Okay, weird. There seems to be some kind of a concentration of wealth there that you only find in major cities. All right, in South Florida. And even here in South Florida, the wealth seems to be extreme. I really have only seen in New York and LA this level of extremity. All right, where I backed out. I said, okay, Zillow, let's do another search. What's the most that I can search for the minimum value of a home? And as it turns out, it's $18 million. So you can search for $18 million and up homes on Zillow. And when I backed it out to all of South Florida on mostly the East Coast, over 375 homes, again, for sale right now between Miami and Jupiter. All right.
Who are these people?
Miami.
I don't know. Well, again, all the way up to Jupiter. That's Boca. That's West Palm. All right. That's Hollywood
Correct.
and Aventura. That's all the way up. But it is basically what they consider to be the Miami area.
Yeah,
$375, $18 million and up homes for sale right now. That's obscene. That's obscene.
You head not too far away, like over on the other coastline, you head to Naples, right? Guess how many golf courses Naples has? 73 private courses,
375 golf courses.
And they have
right.
like it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. South Florida's money is insane. I remember living there, and there was a home. There was a $6 million home. Someone bought it, destroyed the home, right?
Yep.
Built another $15 million home on the property. Like he's paid $6 million just for the location. Like,
yeah, just for the property.
There was like already a brand new $6 million mansion on it.
Okay, Delray Beach compared to
it's nutty.
Compared to Boca, compared to all these other places, Delray Beach is a dump. This is a $45 million, 17,000 square foot estate in Delray Beach. That place is a dump by comparison to some of these other areas. What are you doing putting that kind of money into Delray? Anyway,
because it will eventually be like there's a word for this.
Right.
You know.
It'll eventually be 100 million.
Why is it the word not coming to my brain?
Appreciation.
Gentrification, that's the word.
Yes. So who can afford to buy homes for that much? Who is selling homes at such exorbitant prices? Something seems broken here. However, buys and sells are happening all the time.
Who are these people?
I don't know. But let's further back into what you have to earn in order to afford a monthly mortgage payment for $1 million mortgage on $1.5 million place. Because in order to take out $1 million mortgage, you've got to put down 20 to 33% money. So I figure you'll put down a third. That's $500,000 cash you have to come up with to buy one of these places. And then commit to $1 million mortgage over 30 years. Now, banks require your housing costs to be about 25 to 30% of your monthly income to qualify. So they won't even give you a mortgage unless you have enough money to justify it. So that means that for a $10,000 a month payment, that you would need to show an income of $30,000 to $40,000 per month to show that a quarter or even a third of your expenses would go toward housing, and you'd be able to afford the monthly payments without the bank risking default. Because they figure that between car and... Go ahead.
Go look on LinkedIn and see if, like, how many jobs in the area are even paying that.
Right?
They're not. Like, not happening.
So that's with a third down on $1.5 million. Now, again, you still have to factor in property taxes, brokerage costs, which now that you're up to $1.5 million place, that brokerage cost at 6% is $90,000. Now you're laying out literally $100,000 additionally, burning it on fire. So now that's $1.6 million. All right. HOA fees, title and inspection fees, insurance, the cost to move. And I'm sure you live in a decent place now. And eventually monthly maintenance on your place because things go wrong and things break. What's the air conditioning cost in South Florida, Reef?
I mean, a lot. It depends on where you're at and how efficient your home is, but electrical power grid stuff here is actually way cheaper than a lot of the country. But I mean, it's up there. You're going to pay out of pocket for a lot, especially on one of those McMansions.
And you're running 24/7.
So,
and not even on a McMansion, on a 3-bedroom apartment, on a 2,500 square foot 3-bedroom apartment even. I said, and remember and understand that costs also go up every year, pretty much across the board, but income doesn't always go up every year.
Property taxes and housing costs, just because there's other rich folks in your area all jacking all that up.
So this is a mortgage calculator that I did at calculator.net. All right. I plugged in that $1.5 million. That's a current interest rate at 6.7% with a third down on a 30-year fixed loan, 3% property taxes, only $3,000 of homeowners insurance, which might be low, mortgage insurance, which you'll need at a mortgage that big, your HOA fee being at $500 per month, that's $6,000 a year, and I'm factoring in a low cost of $4,000 per year. All right, that adds up to an $11,323 mortgage payment over 30 years. Insane. All right, that's mortgage, property tax, insurance, HOA, and everything. That's your out the door. Your monthly mortgage payment to the bank plus taxes is going to be about 10 grand. Like I said, 10, 11,000. I said, I didn't realize that there were that many jobs paying $350,000 to $500,000 a year in South Florida. But somehow there seems to be a large number of people showing enough income to afford all these mortgages or holding enough cash to buy them outright and somehow cover their expenses. Okay. Getting back, my friend and his significant other actually claimed, they told me they paid cash for their place because they each sold their apartments that they had owned for a long time, made a bunch of money on that, pulled that together, and were able to pay cash for this ultra wealthy, beautiful place. So all they have are property taxes and monthly expenses. That's a nice way to live if you can afford it.
Right.
Very few people have the ability to do that. So here we get back to my observations after doing all the math, and I'm sorry for geeking out on everybody and boring you with all the $1 million math that we'll never get to afford. But the ultra wealthy have been hard at work brainwashing the network TV watching boomer generation for sure. I'm sorry, Oz. I'm not beating up on the boomer generation. All right. This is real. This is happening.
Stay away from my chickens, Oz.
Stay away from my chickens, Oz. And this is really happening. I spent a few nights watching the 11 o'clock news with my parents, who are both in their 70s and 80s. And the first 15 minutes, it was almost a comical show. They're all fear-mongering about murders at Walgreens, murders on the highway, murder-suicides, school shootings, and hyper-focusing on whatever Trump did that day, and now the weather that's going to be beautiful for the next 7 days. And, of course, it'll rain for an hour in the afternoon, and it'll be very windy at times, and sports with corn pop or whatever the clown's sports guy is. And finally, of course, the human interest story that shows just how awful our society is, but one person managed to overcome it for 5 seconds, so let's showcase that, right? Now, watching that same formulaic news every night before bed definitely has an effect on older, wealthy brains. People who are now living in constant fear of immigrants murdering them. MS-13 is coming. While they manage to live in insulated bubbles where there's practically zero chance of that happening to them. It's hilarious. They're afraid.
Pop was a bad dude.
They're afraid of shit that will never happen to them, or there's almost 0.0002% chance of that happening to them based upon where they go and who they interact with. All right. My thesis for this whole thing is that there has never seemingly again been more of a divide in this country between the haves and have-nots than we're seeing now, and it only appears to be heading in a more dangerous direction. Because what's happening is that in order to insulate and protect themselves from this perceived fear, they're approving cop cities, an increase of police and military budgets and militarization of our police forces, which has impact on all of us. It starts with the gated community. It's done for quote-unquote security, because the news, of course, fear-mongered them about their safety being in danger, so they feel like they have to have security for their community, but it's also done to create exclusivity. Most of these gated communities have uniformed, highly trained employees that know to keep their mouths shut and stay in line, or they're quickly replaced. It's like the Django effect. All right. They want to protect the people that are supporting them and making sure that they live decently. And they do live decently. They don't live well, but they're paid okay. They're paid more than the average. They're paid a living wage, what I would consider. All right. The proximity to that kind of wealth makes these jobs highly sought after because occasionally a valet that has some brains and talent gets hired by one of the millionaires that lives in his building. And all of a sudden he's set for life and his family gets generational wealth out of that. That's a possibility. And it's why these are sought after. And even within the gated community themselves, some go a step further and have more security at each building within the community because getting through the front gate isn't enough. You've got to go through at least one other set of gates. And then you have to get through security, and then you get through the doorman before you can even get into a lot of these buildings. But I also claim that the info bubble is just as thick because there is equally a financial disconnect happening in the U.S., unlike anything I've ever personally experienced. The ultra wealthy who have been doing phenomenally well thanks to the stock market and the increase in real estate costs and their assets that have gone sky high in the last 10 years that most of America never holds. All right. They're insulating themselves into a world where they rarely, if ever, engage with anyone who is a genuine threat to them. And their money is empowering them to do it. All power to them for that if they want to do that. But what I don't appreciate is them overfunding the military and the cops to do it. But it also provides them with a level of entitlement and a lack of fear of repercussions for the most monstrous behavior, such as advocating genocide, because they can either just buy their way out of trouble that they may encounter, or they'll use the legal system to their advantage, which they have the resources to do, and sue people for harassment like they're doing in Montreal for saying free Palestine. That leads to their most abhorrent views never being substantially challenged, leaving little chance for dissenting narratives, which is mostly about war and our funding of it and why, ever to make their way through those gates and security. All right?
Damn, boy. Damn, boy, he's thick, boy. That's a thick ass boy. Damn.
It is thick. All right. And let's just remember that the average American, let's go back and let's back this all the way down. Like, what is the average American experiencing? And I had our friend Ryan Knight actually posted a tweet. I don't even know if he's still running that account. Somebody's running it under Proud Socialist. All right. The average American is being priced out of a system that threw them overboard years ago, and they have no lifeboat. COVID wiped a lot of people out financially, too. A recent stat from Statista indicated that the required income to afford a median-priced home at $120,000 a year is almost 50% higher than the median household income. So you need to earn $120,000 a year, but the average American earns $84,000 a year. The average American household, again, that's usually a two-income household, earns $84,000 a year. As Ryan says, or whoever wrote this, the American dream is dead. Cause of death, strangulation by capitalism. All right. This shows how even in, like I was showing, it's never been like this. Income and housing costs had always basically run together, and housing costs very often were less than the average income. That ain't happening now. We have seen a markedly different behavior from the required income to the median household income. Again, assuming that no more than 30% of gross household income goes toward housing costs. So they're again still requiring you to make 10 grand a month, or a family to make 10 grand a month, but the family's only making about 7 grand a month. And then you have health insurance costs that have been going crazy, and all the other costs that have been stacked on top of that. And of course, George Carlin called it more than 20 years ago, and I'd love to play this. I have a feeling that we would get knocked out by YouTube for playing
Copyright
this,
claimed.
paying this. I don't know if it's claimed or if they would literally turn off our stream. That's what my worry would be. But, you know, again, they want obedient workers, people who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, longer hours, reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money.
A balanced budget.
They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from us sooner or later because they own this fucking place. Here it is. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. By the way, it's the same club they use to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged, and nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. I got to do it like George. Good, honest, hardworking people, white collar, blue collar. Doesn't matter what collar shirt you have on. Good, honest, hardworking people continue. These are people of modest means. Continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. You know? And again, nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on.
Bat shit, dirty old twat. 69 assholes tied in a knot.
Hooray, lizard shit. Fuck. I'll finish it. All right. That's what the owners count on. The fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream because you have to be asleep to believe it.
Sleep to believe it.
Church of Carlin. That's book one. That's Genesis right there. You have to. That is fundamental Carlin. If it, you know, that's what it is. None of the above, man. We need none of the above. And that's and look, the wealth disparity is nobody's doing anything to help the wealth disparity. They're just making themselves wealthier. You can't even get into Congress unless you're a millionaire. I think there are 3 of them that aren't already millionaires. It's like Ilhan, definitely in the Senate. All right. Schatz is the only senator that is not already a millionaire. The guy from Hawaii. He will be soon enough if he's not already. All right. But, you know, there are so many things around that. And again, I didn't even talk about the conversation that I had with my friend who effectively said that he didn't give a shit about what was happening in Gaza and was happy that Israel was doing what it was doing. And in my opinion, this is the kind of person that will end up buying one of Jared Kushner's condos on the Gaza waterfront once they build it on top of the ashes. A fucking disgusting individual. And I will likely write an article about it. I started one. I haven't finished it. I have to be angry and in a certain rage to want to read that or to write that way. I don't know anybody else in independent media that's talking about multi-million-dollar listings and what it's going to do to the average person. And because of that, we get demonetized by YouTube and we have to be funded by you. We don't take sponsor money. We don't take advertiser money. We are accountable only to the people that watch this channel. The best ways to support our channel are through Cash App, $, Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, and you can also subscribe at innnewsletter.com or at indiemediatoday.com. All right.
Money,
well,
please.
yeah. Well, somebody's getting money in South Florida for sure. We don't get that. None of us has that kind of money. We know that. You know, again, we all kind of are relying on each other. Thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it. Again,
some people in this country are very, very rich, but most of them are very, very poor.
That's 100% true.
Yep.
All right. Let the rich. I would yes. With some ketchup maybe or hot sauce. I'm a hot sauce guy.
But how does the Senate vote?
Fuck the poor. That's right. St. George Carlin the Prophet. We got Vicky here. OMB is here. This is great. Yep. Bonus. How do we miss that tonight? Another live show because I'm a lunatic, and Reef can't stop calling me a lunatic for it. Golden Monarch. Lots of crypto douchebags over on Twitter have been comparing buying houses with how many crypto you have of X. F them all. They're part of the problem. Totally agree. All right. Steve Donziger claims that they're now estimating over 300,000 Palestinians killed since October 7th. That's over 600 a day. All right. Yeah. All right. Most are old before they're aware of the big club or the red, white, and blue shaft. Maybe. I think that actually I had a conversation Friday night with Nature Boy that I think that the younger generation is figuring it out earlier. And that's one of the reasons why they're so pissed off and they're so disconnected from what's happening out there, is that they know that they are being lied to and that they're set up for a world that wasn't built for them to succeed. It was built for their parents to succeed, and their parents aren't leaving this world and leaving the wealth to the next generation. They're accumulating more of it and hoarding it and living in 7-figure homes at 85 years old. Why? You don't need that shit. Like, the whole thing is infuriating. And again, it's the yuppies. They were the hippies that turned into the me generation and the yuppies, and now they're the fucking selfish boomers. And Oz would be the first one to admit that too. I love you, Oz, but your generation is definitely selfish as fuck.
The great and powerful Oz.
He is great and powerful. Support independent media because we need it more than ever, folks. Love you all. See you soon.
Keep listening to what little birds have to tell you. Good night, fam.
Bye, Felicia.
No! We just fucking lost the stream!
Can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen? To 50,000 died, and now we know our mission. We form a militia, make Congress a prison. No, I play civil when all these dead won't make you listen. What's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? God, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause now that I can see the cause so clearly. See, I want our leaders, regardless of party, to fear me.